Howdy, howdy, it's AL-BINO, and we kind of knew this would happen, but then again, it's getting kind of dangerous in here. So what's going on? What's going on is that the left, the deep state, the globalists, are throwing the worst fit they could ever throw in a very dangerous way. What do I mean? Rudyard Lynch of What If Old Hist has predicted civil conflict, and he's kind of dabbled in the past with, like a 30 years war type situation or something like that. Some sort of political crisis pursuant to several of the references that he's read or that he's listened to over the past year or so, and now it looks like we might get a combination of both. What does that mean? That means that as we escalate with the Russians, and it is us escalating with the Russians, okay, we can enter into a very dangerous period of time. Now, they say, well, we could wind up in a thermonuclear conflict, which is possible. That's definitely in the realm of possibility. I would give it 40%. That's a little high for what I feel is a good estimation, but I'm allowing myself room for error. Could be 50 or more. But also, all the stuff about people within the state or within the country, officials, bureaucrats, governors, mayors, state AGs, coming out and saying that they're openly going to defy the duly elected president of the United States and his administration is an open act of treason on the order of the Confederacy and the Civil War. Not quite there yet, but we're getting really fucking close. So, these blue states, we're going to have Donald Trump has no choice. And I think he doesn't want this. And I think this is something that he is slowly coming around to. But I think in the back of his mind, he realizes that he absolutely has to be Augusto Pinochet. We are going into a civil war of some type, or a civil conflict of some type. Period. It has gone past the point of negotiation, of reason, of lawfare, of enforcement, and here's why. At every level, there are people who are going to defy him. So the only way he's going to be able to do this is by force. Period. By force. And if his agencies are so fractured and the states are so fractured, he is going to have to call up the National Guard for states that are working with him and privateer in order to get this to happen. And I got to go inside and grab something. Y'all can follow me here just a minute. Go ahead, ma'am. Honey, you got enough in there? Huh?
Sorry about the wait.
You got enough in there for me to get a 8-piece bone in?
8-piece bone in?
Yeah. Okay.
The meal or just the chicken?
Let me get the meal. Actually, you know what? Let's just get the chicken. Oh, I just about wiped out your chicken supply there, didn't I?
That's fine, we have plenty.
You got more dead birds back there?
Yeah. Alright, anything else for you?
That's it. Let me grab something from over in here, but yeah, that should be
Alright,
it. Yeah.
do you want me to keep it in here to keep it warm for you?
No, I'm good. I'm just going to be a few minutes.
Alright,
Thank
there you go. Have a good one.
Chicken for me and the lady. Not healthy, but she just got back from her trip. So she's probably not ready for much cooking. So let's see what we can get here. I didn't like the sides there. They're not very healthy selections, so we'll try and figure something out. Like truck stops. Duh, like truck stops. I'm a truck driver. Okay, here we go. That'll be enough for her and me. A little precious lady and me. Sure do love her. Go, sir.
How you doing, brother?
Go ahead and ring that up if you would, please.
That everything for you, sir.
That's it.
2330, please.
That's a big box of liquor.
That big box of it's gonna be in my belly.
Oh, yeah, it is.
You want a copy of this one, man?
Hey,
I'm
look,
good.
that chicken's running. I don't know if you read the box.
Chicken on the run.
Chicken on the run.
That's right.
Yeah.
Chicken ring.
See?
That's what they use
Yeah. All right. Y'all have a good one. Shark. Potatoes. This here. Some water bottles. Water bottle. Go. Just in case. Chicken. Alright. Alright, where were we? Chicken's making me hungry. Alright, so Donald Trump is going to have to become the Augusto Pinochet. He's going to have to do this by force. No two ways about it. Okay. I think it's quite evident that the time of talking, the time of reasoning, the time of trying to use normative enforcement means is wrapping itself up. And it's not Donald Trump's fault. He is sending a very clear message that he is going to enforce the law, and he is trying to do things administratively. But the harder they push back at him, and the more that they just refuse to cooperate with him and with us, because we're the ones who put him in, we're the ones who gave him Congress, okay? We're the ones who gave him a whole lot of state houses and governorships and all this other stuff over the last few years. It's clear that he has a mandate in this democratic republic to do so. Much in the same way that Abraham Lincoln had the mandate to do what he wished to do, or that he was set out to do, when he won his election in 1860. And his original intent was to quell the ongoing Civil War. What do I mean by ongoing? Well, the Civil War started after Lincoln's election. No, it didn't. Go read up on Bleeding Kansas. Actually, de facto, the American Civil War went from 1854 to 1865. The first one. And the first one that we were a country for, right? Because the American Revolution is also a civil war, but that was a civil war of us against the British, because we were part of the British Empire at the time. So the American Civil War of the middle of the 19th century started in Kansas in the mid-1850s, and it ran for 10 years. And Lincoln originally came in his mandate was to resolve it. Oh, it got resolved. But it had to be resolved by force. And it escalated before he took office. That's right. South Carolina seceded before Lincoln was inaugurated. Bleeding Kansas was going on and escalated before Lincoln took office. Do you recognize the pattern? So when he was inaugurated, we were already at a state of civil conflict. So here we are again. I'm really tired. because my sweetie just flew back in from Mexico. She's not yet a citizen. She is a legal resident. She has her paperwork in order. But everything that's been breaking out between us, Ukraine, the Russians, and everything with the escalation of the situation, I was very concerned about her ability to re-enter the country last night on just her green card and her passport. Because the last time that we were in an escalating situation during or right after September 11th, they closed the border for 3 weeks. And unless you were traveling to the United States from a NATO country, you were stuck wherever you were for those 3 weeks. So I did not get much sleep last night. Okay? And we are going to have the discussion about expediting her route to citizenship, because I don't ever want to tell her that she can't go visit her family in Mexico, but I don't ever want to have to worry about the situation again. We're also going to have a discussion about, hey, for the next 6 to 9 months, or until President Trump can get things leveled out, both internally to the United States and now possibly externally in a possible war or wartime situation, both internally and externally against the Russians and the Chinese and the BRICS and all this other stuff, foreign travel may not be advisable. So we're going to have that discussion over the next few days. But I think she already realizes some of this stuff, and I think she's ready to have that discussion. She's not a dummy. She wanted Trump to win, because she came to this country to be better and to be freer, and she worked very hard to get to where she's at today. So that, even though she's not yet a citizen, in every other sense of the word, even though she can't vote and do all that other stuff, the fact that she's paid her dues, in her heart, this is her country. But she's also from Mexico too, and she has family down there, obviously, and she still has affection for her birth country, and she understands that what's good for the United States is also good for Mexico. And she knows that if the United States is secure and strong because of Mexico's ties with us and their proximity to us, and whatever happens here also affects them as far as national security, their border security, their crime, all the stuff that goes on there, plus we have all their trade agreements and everything else. She wants Donald Trump to win, which he did. She's very happy about that. And she wants America to do well, because she also wants the country that she came from to do well too. So she's very aware, although she doesn't necessarily like to talk about these things because they're unpleasant. And she doesn't. She's one of those people, I just don't want to talk about unpleasant things. She's very aware of the reality on the ground. But these deep staters are doing everything they can to, just like James Buchanan, to leave a domestic shit can, just like James Buchanan left for Abraham Lincoln, and an international shit can. These people hate you. They hate white Americans. They hate black Americans. They hate Mexican Americans. They hate Cuban Americans. They hate Puerto Ricans that are also Americans, by the way. They hate Dominican Americans. They hate Nigerian Americans. They hate Chinese Americans. They hate Jewish Americans. They hate Persian Americans. They hate Muslim Americans. They just hate Americans. And they hate America the way that it was founded, the way that it should be. Okay? They hate it. And this is worse than the 3-year-old in the cereal aisle at the grocery store. Throwing a temper tantrum because they're not going to get what they want, or they lost the game of chutes and ladders, right? No. This is way worse. This is deliberate. This has been being set up for a while, and they were so close to have it ripped away from them. It's almost like the fatal attraction, narcissistic, borderline personality disorder woman who is who is the toxic side of a relationship, and the dude decides he's just had enough and he's going to move on in life. So, he goes away, moves away, does whatever, goes to his area of town or his area of the county, and he happens to be, I don't know, at a pool hall, at a bar, and he maybe is playing pool with another woman, maybe not even dating her, he's just hanging out, right? Or he's at the dance hall, and he maybe not even, the woman's probably not even, this other woman's not even his girlfriend, most likely. He happens to be dancing with this woman in a nightclub or a country dance hall or something like that. And this girl walks in and sees him, then she goes outside, fucking slashes his tires, keys his truck, smashes his windshield. That's what these people are doing. And then when she gets arrested, she files a domestic and gets him in trouble too, right? Now, I know not all of you like to listen to Alex Jones because he is rough. But goddamn it, sometimes if he ain't right too. And I sometimes he makes me angry because of some of his stances on things, but other times I do listen to him because he does put out useful information. And I listened to him the last couple of days regarding this because he has been the lead in this as well as others. And he likened it to a hostage situation with a bunch of bank robbers, and they're surrounded by like 2 SWAT teams. And he's got the gun to the teller's head, and he tells them, look, if you come in here, I kill her and everybody else in here. And they've been negotiating for 3 hours, like 3 years, right? And they're getting ready to move, and it's gotten to the point now where they have to move. They have to do something. So, the teller's going to die. And people in the bank are going to die. Innocents are going to die. But the SWAT team's coming in. If the Russians, who are not known for backing down from a fight, ever, except for Afghanistan once, but in their history other than that, ever, they almost never back down from a fight. If they retaliate, this is going to get ugly. So how are we going to fight some sort of civil conflict that is both administrative within, officially within, like between certain states and other states and the federal administrative state divided against itself, and the population throughout the country eventually participating in vigilante type violence amongst themselves, along with a potential world war that could go nuclear. You know, they don't even have to go thermonuclear, right? They keep bantering around this thing about Russian cyber attacks, Russian this and Russian that, Chinese cyber attacks, and this and that and something else, right? People don't normally attack unless they're provoked, unless they're just evil. Now, is Putin a good guy? No, he's not. Okay? But think of it, is Xi a good guy? No, he's not. They're evil people, okay? They are. But over the last 30 years, we have been giving these bad people all the right reasons to come after us. When the Soviet Union fell in 1991, we made agreement with then outgoing premier and incoming incoming Russian Federal, outgoing Soviet premier Gorbachev, an incoming Russian President Yeltsin, that we could reunify Germany and that everybody would stand down so long as we did not advance NATO further east than a reunified Germany. And then incrementally over time, we started adding nations to NATO in violation of that treaty. In 2000, I believe it was 2000, Russia actually applied to join NATO. We turned them down. It was 99 or 2000, one of the two. 2094, we started adding nations in Eastern Europe to NATO, but they weren't right on the Russian border. Starting in 2002 and 2004, we started adding nations right up on the border of the Russian Federation to NATO. Okay? Then, here's the funny part, right? And I remember this because I saw it with my own eyes. I was there. So, we go to war in the Middle East, right? Over 9/11. Justified war, but I went into a whole thing on one of my previous videos about how the boomers fucked that up and grabbed defeat from the jaws of victory. Here's one thing that y'all don't know. While the Russian Federation didn't actually have troops on the ground with us in Iraq or Afghanistan, they supported us logistically. They sold us oil at a discounted price. Aeroflot, which was a Russian airline, is in possession of some of the largest cargo aircraft in the world. So along with our C-17s and C-5s and our ships that we were using to move material into theater, Russia let us use Aeroflot to transport men material in and out of theater. Saw this because I saw Aeroflot jets landing in Kuwait, landing in Iraq. Yes, Aeroflot cargo planes. So, up until the end of the Bush administration, even though we weren't formally allied with the Russians, until 2008, they were acting as an ally towards us in our war in the Middle East. Once Obama came in, that changed. Then, under the Obama administration, we forced 2 coups in Ukraine. This was also when the Biden family was laundering money through Ukraine. This caused Vladimir Putin to take Crimea because he knew that we had sponsored 2 coups in Ukraine to turn the Ukrainian government, his own neighbor, against him. And he wanted to secure warm water points or warm water ports for his navy. He didn't do anything for Crimea, but we started forcing his hand. Then came the Ukraine debacle with Donald Trump, where Donald Trump was going to investigate what was going on in Ukraine in 2019, and they impeached him for it. Led by Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. Then came COVID. Then came the now we do know stolen election of 2020. And ain't it weird that the patriarch of the family that was money laundering through Ukraine for the Obama administration and for the Clintons' State Department becomes the president in a year and a half later, after we pull the rest of our troops out of Central Asia in a fucked up way. We invite the last of the European border states against that abut the Russian Federation into NATO, and Putin says, all right, that's enough. And a year and a half later, he goes to war with Ukraine, and we've been fighting a proxy war through them ever since. Then Biden loses, well, Harris loses this election, but the same strings are attached that were attached to the Biden family. And on their way out the door, they decide to authorize, this is the official tale, to authorize the use of heavy nuclear-capable cruise missiles to be fired from Ukraine into Russia's interior. Now, obviously, we're not using nuclear warheads, but they are nuclear-capable. But here's the funny thing about these missiles. They're American and British missiles that are stationed in Ukraine, and officially they're being fired by the Ukrainians, but Ukraine doesn't have access to the operating system. So who's actually committing the act of war? And this war is undeclared by our Congress. even though they've been funding it for 2 years. And now Putin has come and said, okay, if you fire nuclear capable heavy cruise missiles proprietary to, with operating systems proprietary to, and accessed by NATO countries, United States, Britain, France, into my country, then a state of war exists between Russia, the United States, Great Britain, France, and the Germans are in Germany too, but the Germans are like, hey, fuck no, we're not authorizing this. You guys are crazy. The Germans are taking a step back. But here's how they get us, right? President Trump wants to have talks to try to calm the situation down. He has very limited authority by the Logan Act. He's not the sitting president yet. So if he does any negotiation, it has to be just unofficial negotiation, like, hey guys, let's sit down and talk. I'm not representing the United States. But here's the catch-22. If he does that, they will try to disqualify him for sedition by violating the Logan Act via the 14th Amendment, so his hands are tied. And anybody tied to his incoming administration is helpless as well. All he could do right now is get on social media or on a radio station and say, well, I hope that things calm down. I hope that after I'm president, we can sit down and talk this out. Please, guys, I call as an American citizen for the Russians and the Ukrainians to stop fighting. That's all he can do. He can't act. And the Republican establishment and the Democrats in the Senate have already made it clear that they are probably not going to appoint a good number of his cabinet appointees, which means that he's going to have to wait until Congress adjourns after he's inaugurated and do recess appointments. Which, if he does that, though he can legally do that, they can fucking raise a stink about that. They can also prolong the session of Congress to where it doesn't adjourn and he never gets his appointments. And now some of these rhinos and these Democrats are talking about setting up a shadow cabinet. So now I'm going to up my forecast on Rudyard Lynch's prediction of civil conflict to 100% will happen. With an 80% chance of, I'll say 40% of chance of thermonuclear, 80% chance of a concurrent international war or conflict as well. Russia's already declared war against us. That's done. Putin said, if you do this, we're at war. We did it. So we're at war, or Russia's at war with us. Whether or not we're aware of it, or our officials admit it, that's the fucking deal. Today's date is November 19th, 2024. That's when I'm making this video. It'll be posted up tonight. And it may not go full thermonuclear, because I kind of led into this and then I got sidetracked with my ADD mind, right? You know, they keep talking about Russia hacking and Russia hacking our power systems and the Chinese hacking us and the Chinese potentially hacking our power systems and all this other bullshit, right? Which is possible. They've, you know, hacking from foreign, even from friendlies, does happen. Okay, that's true. You know, but EMP? Is that going to be a false flag generated by us, or are we going to piss off Putin to the point where he's going to be like, well, I can't kill them all, or Xi acting in proxy with, or North Korea acting in proxy with, because now they got North Korean soldiers in active combat against, in the Ukraine theater, about whatever the fuck's going on over there. I'll bet you money we do have boots on the ground there, but they're not reporting it in a combative stance, but they won't report that. Right? They probably do somewhere. So either by proxy, China, North Korea, or directly Russia's like, well, you know what? We'll just send them an EMP. Shut down the East Coast and the Midwest. Shut it down. Cell phones, cars, anything that has an electrical circuit or chip in it. Electrical circuit, analog or digital, electronic. And not shut it down for a few days. Shut it down permanently. Or they could do the whole country if they don't even need an ICBM to do this. This is low tech. They just got to get it high enough up in the air to where the detonation won't actually kill people, but the EMP burst will have a wide coverage area. They could shut down a third to 2/3 to the entire continental United States, most of Canada, and probably 2/3 of Mexico just by that alone. All of North America dark. Guess what? They could do it with a fucking Scud missile off of a container ship. They just got to get it high enough up and get it to detonate in the atmosphere. They don't have to target a city. They just have to get it somewhere over in the middle of the country. And have it detonate 100 miles, 50 miles in the air. Good night. What if he does that? They don't have to take out a city. They could take out the grid. Anything electrical. Anything with an electrical circuit, not just chips. Anything with an electrical circuit that isn't shielded by some sort of a Faraday cage is done. And even if it's shielded by a Faraday cage, but it's connected to the grid, even by a telephone cable, or an internet cable, or a power cable, it's fried. Gone. Cell phones don't work. Traffic lights don't work. Emergency services don't work. Refrigerator doesn't work. Lights don't work. Heater doesn't work. Stove don't work. Police radios don't work. CB radios don't work. Nothing works. We're instantly back into the 1700s. Not even telegraph will work, which is from the 1800s. We're back in the 1700s. Instantly. And our population's accustomed to living on this infrastructure. Do you understand how fucking dangerous these Democrats and establishment Republicans are? Do you understand that they are deliberately going to destroy us, or trying to destroy us vicariously, because they're not going to have their way? This is not a fucking joke. They have opened us up deliberately to so many things that could completely destroy us, both internally and externally, simultaneously, simply because they lost an election. They said, well, if we can't do this to you incrementally, we'll just kill you quickly. How about that? Got a funnel cloud forming over there off to the southeast. Not much of a rainstorm, but it's just wow. Rudyard Lynch is right. Say your prayers. Say your prayers as corrupt and maniacal and evil as those who are beset against us, the Chinese, the Russians, even the Iranians and the North Koreans, are today. Just say your prayers that maybe God will do two things: protect Donald Trump. Oh, they might try to kill him too, or hang him up in a Logan Act or something like this, because they painted him into a corner. And us. That maybe God will somehow, some way, miraculously cause those to be merciful. At least until January of next year. This is AL-BINO. Merry fucking Christmas. Y'all have a good day.